Okay, so I've almost got this thing done. What I wound up doing was slotting all the way through from the top for the 3/16 keyway that goes on the motor shaft itself. I don't know. I think what I'm probably going to do is I think I'm going to make a piece of 100 thousandths thick steel. It's just some more of this shafting probably that I've got, or key stock. That's the word I'm looking for. Anyways, I'm thinking about just making a 100 thousandths thick piece of key stock to fit into this groove, and then it will be, held in place by this guy. On top of that, the other thing that I need to do is I need to drill through about right here for to clear a 3/8 inch bolt to use as a set screw of sorts, so that I can set screw this right to the shaft of the motor. So my other option was I was contemplating possibly tack welding this in place. So I'm not sure yet. I mean, there's still a chance I might do that because it'll be quick and easy. But so far, everything is fitting awfully well. This is quite a bit tighter than what I can probably show you. Plus, I've got an interference with the but at least you kind of get the idea of what's going to happen here. But this is really tight on the outside of this, and this is fitting the motor shaft extremely well, so it's going in a good direction here. The only other thing I need to do is I need to order a couple of belts to test drive this, because I don't know that I've got anything hanging around here that I can use. I mean, I'll check, but I'm not so sure of it. The other thing I'm probably going to have to do is probably going to have to, well, one, I'm definitely going to have to move the motor out away from the machine a little bit, but I'm either going to have to move the entire bracket, motor mount, either that way or this way on the machine itself. So I may have to slot those holes or something. We'll see. Maybe I'll just drill new holes as needed in the mount frame. It's just a matter of if I've got enough meat to do it, or for that matter, maybe the smart thing to do, since this is just a temporary test drive anyways, is just move it where it needs to be and clamp it down. That's probably what I'll wind up doing, just so that I can test drive this. The ultimate design is what I'm contemplating possibly doing is eventually taking this ring off and building something that will adapt to the back edge of that, and possibly have a drive shaft coming from another location, basically from inside this pump room is one of the things I'm considering. So the motor, in theory, would be in there, hidden out of the way. So we'll see. I'm still contemplating all these things. I can't stand the sight of that. I just need to get this thing up to a higher speed and see how it's going to handle itself. I was also doing a bunch of research into the redesign on the gearbox on the mill head of these things. The second generation of these looks like it's a completely different creature up here, and I'm still kind of trying to decode in my mind how they got a high and a low speed range out of it. So eventually hopefully replacing that gearbox with a high-speed gearbox that I manufacture is hopefully the direction I'll wind up going in the long run. But in the short term, I'm going to try and drive this that fast, which should be, what was it, about 1900 RPM on the input, which, if I calculated correctly, should give me a maximum speed of nearly 1,000 or just over 1,000 RPM at the spindle. So that'll be a really, really good starting point for me, because most of what I do on that mill is at about 1,000 RPMs. So we'll see. I also broke down and ordered a set of Brown & Sharp number 9 collets for this thing. I promised myself I wouldn't, but I figure, it's one of the things that's holding me up from actually using this mill again. So spend the money, get the collets here, and speed this thing up and put it back into service and start making chips with it and doing what it was made to do. Granted, of course, there's still several other repairs, but between those and a decent vise, it's all those little things add up to just make it sit there collecting dust. And I am bound and determined that this machine is not going to collect dust for the rest of its life, or at least not the rest of mine. So any rate, that's what I've been tinkering with today. So probably be a few days before I have belts and whatnot to power this up and show you guys any real progress. But hopefully eventually I'll get around to showing you something more interesting.